the pelvic tilt can be incorporated as part of the T-touch tail work. We want to start out by making sure that your horse is comfortable about being handled around the tail. We can work our way back, and we might start with a few hair slides on the tail, and we stroke the hair from one side to the other, out to the side, and this will give you also a sense of how easily your horse can actually move through the pelvis, moving from one leg to the other. Now, when we start with the going on to the pelvic tilt, what we want to do is make a fist, and you're going to place your fist along the point of the buttocks, and this can be done in different places. And there's a really gentle movement that happens. So it's coming from your feet through your body. And if you do a slight pelvic tilt yourself, it will create that little press into your arms, and which is quite a different feeling than if we simply push. So what we're doing is there's a little movement that will happen through the sacrum, and you can get an idea if horses are really tight, if they can't move, if they're not comfortable with it. So there's this press, pause, and slowly release. And you can see that the movement will actually be created all the way through the sternum, into the sternum, and you'll often see movement into the flank area as they're engaging the abdominal muscles. When you go in different places on the buttocks, you're going to get a different response. You could see that when the hands were lowered, it was quite a different response. The movement is slow, so there's no reflexive movement at all that we're looking for. We just want the horse to have this sense of how can they organize themselves and how can they move through the body, and is there some movement that happens through the sacral joint. When we do this with a rider on board, the rider feels the same movement through their own pelvis that it seems that's happening with the horses. So this can be a very interesting exercise to help the horse get a sense of how to do it while bearing weight on their backs. A variation of this is if you cross your wrists, cross your hands at the wrists, and you're going to take each of your hand, you're going to press on the inside of the hind legs, and so that there'll be a slight sense of that there's like an outward press, but again it's happening because you're taking this movement through your body. There's a pause and a slow release. This seems to have a different effect on the ribs and a different part of the body. It's just what we observe with that. Now this is a view from the top and the back, so you can see the ribs moving as well. And you can also, one of the options with some horses, if you go quite high, so you're really next to the top of the tailbone, you'll have more movement, and other horses, the movement happens, there'll be a greater movement as you move down. And here's how the hands are crossed. And it's really interesting to notice what kinds of responses the horses can have. Of course, if your horse is really tight through that, this is not going to be the place to start with it. And we have another exercise that we can make this even smaller, which is a huge part of what we like to be able to do.